Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. Accidents happen. Without the right coverage from the right insurance company, damage to your automobile can be a real financial hit. That's why Kentuckians appreciate the competitive rates and personal service they get from Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. When the unexpected happens, count on us to help you get back on the road. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going good. We've got some rain. We've had some.
It rained.
I don't know. It doesn't sound. It might be good or bad, depending on what's going on in people's farms throughout Kentucky. But did finally get rain. We did not for feel like forever, right?
Weeks. As much rain as many weeks as it rained in the spring. That's how many weeks it did not rain in the summer.
Yeah.
Us cattle people are like, yay, maybe we'll grow some grass. Most of the grain guys are like, thank you for settling dust and kicking me out of the field for a day.
Yeah.
Too little, too late. But you know.
Yeah, like
sometimes
rain
you just gotta
a
think
month ago
what you
would have
get.
been great, but
Yeah.
But yeah, it rained. It's fall. It's a great time of year. It's cooling off. I'm a person who sweats all summer, every single moment of every single day of the summer. So any kind of cool weather is a good thing. So
it's also typical Kentucky. I need a jacket in the morning. I need to shed said jacket by lunch, which I'll be honest, I don't hate that time of year.
Yeah, and then you need the jacket again. So you got to
need
keep
the jacket
it around.
again, yeah.
Yeah, my car. So it's funny. So we go on these shoots. I put a few things in now. As a bald man, there will be a toboggan now added to the.
It's that cool in the mornings for you? Is that how cold your head gets?
On your head, your hair is doing so much. Especially you got lots.
I do have a lot of hair.
It's amazing how cold your head is without hair. So gotta have a toboggan. And other than that, I have bucket hats and regular hats for the sunny times of the year. Because you burn it too. So it's one or the other. It's
that
crazy.
one makes more sense, yeah.
And then you throw a couple jackets. You got to get your jackets in there. I got a different thickness depending on the morning. Those will just live in my car for the next couple months of shoots on farms and different things. But yeah, the old noggin. I say the toboggan for the noggin will be added to the car. But yeah, I mean, I love this time of year. It's really nice, and it gets us a reason to get out in the farms too because of harvest and stuff like that, especially all the feature shoots we do for annual meeting and other things. It's more than normal. We'll say that. We do it all the time, but it's more than normal.
Yeah, this was not what I was going to say, but you said something about my hair, so I'm going to tell you, I don't know if you even know this, but I'm the girl. Oh, you're that loud girl with the hair. I got told that, like, my first couple months here, I, got to a meeting. It might have been an annual meeting. I had started, I was really, no district in the state is not going to have seen me in my first year. I was cranking it.
Do it right, yeah.
End to end of this state, I was everywhere. And a guy at annual meeting, at least one, maybe two, walked up and referenced my hair and knowing who I was. Not the lady, the new Farm Bureau lady. I was, hey, you're that loud girl that came to that meeting in July with the hair. and they pointed at it like I didn't. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I do have hair. Yep. And so, randomly.
It's a healthy head of hair.
It is
you got a
lot of hair.
You got a lot of hair.
So randomly, people in my family be like, aren't you that girl with the hair? And I'm like, still am. Isn't that weird? But, okay, I got a question for you based off of today's podcast, and I just think it's going to be fun. Have you ever driven a tractor?
All right. So, the kind of the deal with this podcast is, the City Slicker and the Aggie, right? It's kind of our thing,
I'm not supposed to bully you, but you bullied me about movie theaters not that long ago, so it's your turn.
Right. Theaters.
That's how I say it.
Oh, that's great. It's great. I have, yes. So my closest thing to agriculture that I did.
If you're counting a lawnmower, that's not a tractor.
No. I want to tell you what I've done. All right. And it's barely, I don't drive tractors. I have drove a tractor.
Okay.
Hundreds of feet. Okay. So this is nothing crazy, but when I was in high school, we lived in Jeffersontown or J-Town in Louisville.
Cool kids say J-Town, right?
J-Town. Yeah, it's J-Town. So I lived in J-Town, and we lived right next to a relatively small horse farm.
Okay.
We had 5 acres. It was all woods for the most part, but we lived right next to this guy. And I would go and make some money cleaning out stalls. It was kind of my job. And one of them was driving a modest-sized tractor from one spot to the dump spot, if you get what I mean. Yeah. And that would be the closest thing. It's more than a lawnmower.
Okay. Is this like Trace Atkins driving the little baby mower on the TV?
I would call it a baby tractor compared to the things that I now know.
Okay.
By doing my job as a videographer. But back then, thought it was pretty cool. I was driving a tractor. And I didn't go real fast. I was heavily trained because they did not want me to run over one of their horses or whatever, So, but yeah, I did barely, I would say technically, drive a tractor.
So, okay, so I'll count that.
I don't think any farmer that I visit wants me to drive their tractor. So I'm going to let that be, that's a bad idea. But
right.
I think I technically can say that I have drove a tractor.
Okay, question. Your first vehicle that you learned how to drive, was it a stick shift?
Yes.
Okay, I think that is the major difference in the world of people knowing or comfort or not comfort of driving a small tractor. Because me and my siblings were all the first four. I always do that, poor Daniel. The first four, we had a stick shift truck on the farm, and we all had to learn how to drive the stick shift.
Yeah.
Well, that means you know what a clutch is.
Right.
Hence, when you are put on said tractor, easing off of a clutch, it's not the wildest thing. They are very different than an old truck, but you're using 2 feet.
Yeah.
My younger brother we did not have that stick shift truck anymore, so the only vehicle he's ever driven is an automatic. So I do think there's like a level of basic understanding that would make your generation that all drove stick shifts first have slightly more comfort jumping behind the wheel of a tractor.
Right. I think that was literally the first question was asked by the guy or by our neighbor. Have you drove a stick shift? Yes. So I think you're right. I also got that question. What's funny about my first exposure with Farm Bureau, and I don't think I've ever said this anywhere. I mean, I've told people here and there. I used to cut the grass here at Farm Bureau. Yeah. So I worked for a landscaping.
What a story.
Company.
He started on the lawn.
Yeah.
And here he is.
So if you've been in the Farm Bureau office, there's a big chunk of lawn, chunk of grass near 64. Once a week, I was on a big lawnmower hitting that guy. was cutting it. So I just remember when I first got here, I was like, I used to cut the grass over there. But working with that landscaping, they asked me one day, it's like, do you know how to drive stick shift? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, drive the mulch truck, the 12-gear mulch truck. And I'm like, what? So I get climb up in this thing, and I'm like, 18, and I'm just like, all right, just driving this big truck. So yeah, man, if you know how to, it's amazing that little bit of information, a little learning tool that you had when you learn how to drive was just driving a stick shift.
That prerequisite is scary of what now doors are opening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Then you can drive sure. Okay.
Take it down 64.
But I at least get what people would think when they see that. They're like, yeah, you could probably figure this out. We're going to be all right. But they were real nice folks. And I scooped stalls. I weed eated all the fences. I'd get a weed eater and just go all the way around the whole thing, and did that for a little bit. So, I mean, I wasn't technically, doing agriculture, but I worked on a small little horse farm right next door. And
the more you learn. If I would have never asked this question, I'd never known you worked on a farm.
Yeah, I did some farming, I guess, with that. So, but yeah, that's the closest thing to a tractor. And it was, you'd pull the tractor here and you'd load up all the leftovers. And then, and then I would drive it, 100 yards maybe, and dump it in a big pile that they dealt with later on. And that's what I did.
I'm proud of you. That's what made you into the man you are today. Mucking stalls.
I realized I probably should be a video guy.
Do you know where I should go? Indoors.
Indoors. I need to do something. No, this is maybe not my thing. No, I wasn't completely foreign to it all. But I've learned so much working here. I didn't know anything about agriculture when I started here. So, but it's been a lot of fun, learning a bunch. But one of these people that are on today, the guy on today, is one of the first people I met. Years and years and years ago, I met Adam Hinton, who's going to be our guest today. He's talking about a cool event that the video team's actually going to go and be a part of, and it has something related to the question that you asked.
Yeah, and I don't think, based off of your answer, you probably have quite met the prerequisite to drive any of the tractors in that particular parade. But if worse comes to worse, everybody falls out. Now we know, Adam Hinton, you got a guy.
Literally the last person you should choose is me
No,
but I'm there.
We're talking about Fleming County's Ag Week and the 22nd annual
22nd, yeah.
parade. He just literally texted me the flyer so I would get that right on my phone, and I still tried to wing it, so that's on me. No, but Adam's phenomenal. He is a name. Hinton's is a name that a lot of people know in general already, but this particular parade, this particular week of events, I think is just phenomenal, and it'll be kind of a cool growth. Austin, our tech guy in the back, we were talking about it before you walked in. The amount of times that we've done video on different events the Hintons happen to be connected with, it'll almost be kind of a growth. Every kind of decade, we're either updating those videos or it's a new piece they're involved with. So really cool family in the community, and I think you guys are going to enjoy this.
Yeah, I think this is a cool deal when we're talking about speaking more about rural life and some neat things that maybe people don't understand that happens in rural communities. This is one of those things that, like, you both kind of lit up and talked about similar events that you've had throughout the state, and I think other folks probably do too as well. So with that, I think people are going to really like this. So,
all right, we'll get y'all to it. I'm Renee Carrico.
And I'm Matt Hilton.
Let's get rural.
My vehicle was I just had the tires and had the balance rotated and balanced.
Yeah.
And apparently they didn't get one of the wheels on tight, so I'm driving. But I didn't know this. I didn't know what was happening. I'm just sure. And I thought, I got a flat tire.
So you don't turn the radio off when that happens? Is that not what you're supposed to do?
I did for a second, but that's the extent of my mechanical skills: is put gas in it, change the oil, see if it's got a flat tire, and it was none of the above. So anyway, I called the maintenance team. I had problems, and they came like, oh, we've got it sounds like it's your universal joint. I'm like, okay,
it
all
sure
right.
does.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
That's definitely.
So anyway, so we went back and we got a different vehicle, and then they called and they're like, oh no, that wasn't it at all. It was just the lug nuts were loose on your. I'm like, oh, what a relief.
That's good.
That sounds great, right?
My tire could have flown off, but that's great.
See,
so anyway, and then I get a half an hour from here, and I dumped. I had 2 bottles of water, but now I just have 1 because the other one I dumped. It'd been nice if it was just my shirt, but
luckily this is audio only, so you can see.
See, I was thinking luckily it wasn't coffee. That would have been a much more uncomfortable and much more apparent situation than water,
Yeah, I've done that before where, like, I didn't have my Yeti lid on all the way. And you kind of use that to, pull it out of and I just coffee all over them. And I'm like, that's how we start today.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's a good one.
That's how we're doing this.
That's how we planned it.
Well, thanks through all of that. A decent drive anyway that you had planned to do. But we appreciate you coming and visiting us here in Louisville at the KFB studios. But this is Adam Hinton. Thank you for being here. Why are you here? What's a big thing coming up? We have something going on.
Yeah, we've got a huge week.
We got something cool. We're going to get to know you more, but what's one big thing you want to talk about?
Yeah, we've got 2 big things, but they're sister events. Fleming County Agriculture Education Week kicks off on Monday, and then concludes at the end of the week on Friday with our 22nd annual Fleming County FFA Tractor Parade, and it's one of my favorite days of the year.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out. We were talking about it earlier. The video team is going to be heading out and doing a story on the tractor parade. I was like, I think it's been like 10 years. I was way off. It's been going on for quite a while. Yeah. So talk about what's the origins of this tractor parade and really the whole thing. But
yeah. So the tractor parade. The event started as just a tractor parade. The tractor parade started 22 years ago. I was amongst a group of people that was at an FFA alumni meeting, and they were talking about a tractor parade that they had read about somewhere in the Midwest, and it was just this big deal for FFA students. And so we decided that we were going to have a tractor parade, and I mean that's all I remember about it. And we were going to do it during National FFA Week, as you guys know, that takes place in February. And so that was, let's say that was in the fall. We fast forward a few months, we have a tractor parade. There's about 40 FFA students on a cold February morning in Kentucky before school, driving their tractors, a lot of them open station with their coveralls on. And there was about 40 people downtown. They all answered to the name Mom. and they were waving at the students, and that was it. That was the tractor parade, and that's how it went for about the first 10 years. That's exactly what the tractor parade was. And fast forward to 2014. In that year, we had a budget shortfall as a school district, and so we were trying to figure out how to rally support for agriculture and just remind people how important that ag education is and that agriculture is to our community. And the tractor parade that February had been snowed or iced out, as it had been a few times over the years during FFA week. And so we decided that we would hey, let's do the parade that we were going to have in February. Let's do it. So that year it was about the first week of May, and it was tremendous. We had a cause. We had people from, for the first time, other communities, and it was the biggest parade that we ever had. And so it's just grown from there. There's lots of stories about the different stages of that. But that was really the first year that we realized that we had something that, hey, let's don't do it in February. Let's don't do it before school. Let's try to get other people involved, and let's do it to, just bring awareness to folks about it's not just a parade. It's agriculture is important to our community, and let's make it bigger than that. And we have.
Yeah.
Well, as someone who participated in Drive Your Tractor to School Day during FFA week, I did not drive a tractor, but we did like a muddy truck and Drive Your Tractor, tried to open it up for those of us that our parents were going to say no, or didn't have a tractor. My husband did do it in his coveralls in an open station tractor, and that's my favorite part is some people say, oh, they don't have one with a cab, a closed-in cab, and I go, sometimes they're not allowed to take that one. That's the tractor. So for any of you cattle guys, they're like, that's the one that hooks to the baler. They're not allowed to drive that one off the lot. But I think a lot of those guys would be very thankful y'all do a fall one. It's a little bit warmer, at least. And bringing the whole community in, you're exactly right. A lot of those days ends up with a crowd of people all cuddled up trying to stay warm, and they wave and they take the photos, but that kind of ends it, and then everybody goes to school. This one, it's a whole event. It's a whole day.
Oh, yeah.
There's coverage. There's the amount of people there, the spotlight it brings to your county and your community. It's just kind of tenfold of what some of these smaller ones, which are also phenomenal. We have a blast during FFA week, of course, but this one just kind of adds some ante to it,
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, that's what it was. It was really the FFA week Drive Your Tractor to School event for the first however many years, and then in that 2014 year, it just took off. It was cool. We made we ended up, long story short, with that year, we'd already decided after that event that from now on, let's pull back that parade, and instead of doing it in February, let's push it back into harvest and kind of a celebration of harvest, and just thought that it would be a good time, good weather. And so we actually had two parades that year because we had, we'd pulled back the one that was going to take place the next February back to October. And so we had, at the time, Commissioner of Agriculture, Jamie Comer, we made the ask. We're like, hey, we got this tractor parade. Would you come? And that was a big moment for us, too, to have somebody besides the local dog catcher or, a retired teacher, which all those things were awesome. But it was really cool. It brought some spotlight to us. That year, we also, that fall, we would have got some exposure in the Lexington Herald Leader. And we've just grown it from there. So yesterday I came across, I was trying to find some stuff, just getting prepared for this year's event, and I found a clip that our Grand Marshal last year, it's turned into a big deal, and you guys know we've got a special Grand Marshal this year too. But our Grand Marshal last year was Senator Mitch McConnell, which was a really big deal for us. And so I looked, and there was an email from his staff, and there were like 8 or 9 different news clips that they had sent me of folks that had covered it from the Cincinnati market to West Virginia, the Lexington market, that had ran it, at least a minute or two of video about that parade. But yeah, it's huge for our community now. There's stuff that takes place Monday through Friday in our school system. If you're pre-K through 8th grade, you get something really special. If you're a high schooler, it's a little more limited as far as what we do for high schoolers. There's a lot of high schoolers that we pull out that they're actually doing a lot of the content for the pre-K through 8th grade. We figure if you're in high school, if you don't know if you want to be in agriculture or not, and you've got FFA as an option, you've probably got it figured out. But for these young people, we're just trying to get them engaged in agriculture, and we do a lot of really cool things that I can't wait for you guys to see.
Yeah. I think, city boy here. It's neat how quickly you're both like talking about it, and you did it, and this is a real thing. This is one of those really cool.
You didn't drive your tractor to school?
I did. We would
out of your neighborhood.
We'd drive out of the neighborhood, go mudding, and I had a Jeep. And then we'd park all of everybody's muddy cars. That's about the closest thing to what you just said. But I think that's something that what's been neat about kind of we've rebranded, rethought this podcast is talking about just rural community stuff as well and rural life, and it's neat that two different parts of the world that you're both have this exposure to the same idea, and so I think it's really a cool thing. I've been to this before. We did a quick story on it 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited. We're going to bring a video team out and do a story. So let's rewind.
Sure.
Who are you? How did you get involved? What is your family's involvement in agriculture today? And talk about all your all's connections to your community that you're a part of.
Yeah, so I'm Adam Hinton. I'm fourth generation in a family farm supply business. Our business started in 1918. I've got the great pleasure of working with two brothers and some other relatives. My dad, but our business started in 1918, and I don't like to tell the story of Hinton Mills without backing up even farther. When my great grandfather started our business when he was a young man, when he was this would have been in the late 1890s, early 1900. His parents both passed away, and he and his brother and sister found themselves as orphans, and they moved in with their grandparents. And so my great grandfather Frank and his brother Ed and sister Nell were in a new home, and but shortly thereafter their grandfather passed away. So my great grandfather found himself as the man of the family as a third grader. And so he dropped out of school and went to work. Not sure exactly how he ended up with a baby calf, but he started raising baby calves. We assumed that probably they didn't have any money, so I assumed that that maybe a neighbor or somebody that had twins or had an orphan calf itself gave him this calf, and he raised it, sells it, buys some necessities, and reinvests in his business, and does this again and again and again, and eventually he's buying 2 and 3 calves at a time, and that was kind of the genesis of our business before it actually started, and that's why the Hinton Mills logo has that little calf head in the logo. It's that first calf that helped get our business started, and so it evolved. Over the years we've grown and been in the feed business since the second generation, since my grandfather when he got out of World War II. He came home and wanted to be like his dad and raise cattle. And probably some cold December night when he was having to go to town to pick up the grain that they were selling out of the store or grain for his cattle, whatever the case may be, he got the idea to start a feed mill. And so we got in the feed mill business in the 1950s and became more than just a general store. And in the 1960s, we added a couple more locations, and over the years, we've grown. We've got 6 locations that serve northeastern Kentucky and feed, seed, fertilizer, all those things that you need around a farm or in rural Kentucky. So that's what Hinton Mills does. And through Hinton Mills, got to know just a lot of students. Got involved in the community. I'd worked at a university prior to coming back to our family business, and was used to working with young people. And so I got involved with working with FFA students, and that kind of became our interest in specifically in trying to find ways to be involved with the FFA and young people in our community.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. I think that's your all story is really cool. I just love the family element of it, but you guys are really about you've expanded, but you're really about your community. You do a lot of things. And how did you get involved in? You talked a little bit about the tractor, but how important is it for you to be so involved in your local area with these kinds of things? Oh,
it's huge. I mean, it's who we are. We don't, if there was any intentionality about it years ago, I'm sure that there was, but I don't don't necessarily remember that. Now it's to the point where it's who we are. We just don't even think about it. We're just so engaged in our community, not just with FFA, with so many other things. And we just love our communities. We don't think of just as Fleming County, Flemingsburg as our community. We think of all those rural communities that are close by, that one of our locations may be in or service, but specifically Fleming County. That's where our heart is, of course. All of our family members still live in Fleming County or are now back in Fleming County, or our kids are in Fleming County. So we're just really passionate about our neighbors, and if it wasn't from the support of one of our unknown neighbors that probably helped my great-grandfather, we wouldn't be here today. And we don't take that lightly, and hope that we'll have a similar impact on somebody that we don't know someday. But yeah, we've got an amazing team that we get to work with, an amazing community that we get to serve, and one of those ways is through Ag Education Week and the Tractor Parade.
Very good.
So I think it's very important. We always talk about generational farmers, and in what we do with Farm Bureau, a lot of things we're talking about is on the actual farm, doing the actual farm work. But one thing I really like about Farm Bureau is we're rural communities, and agribusiness specifically. Anything we do a lot of times that impacts farmers, and you know this, you've been on that front. You're very, very active when it comes to things that your community, your industry is passionate about. When we're doing anything to change, whether that's tax exempt pieces, whether that's new pieces of paperwork, easing some things up, making, trying to ease up some difficulties. A lot of times you guys are right in the forefront with us as an ag retailer, as an ag business. And so talk through maybe the changes you guys have seen as these generations have passed, but then also kind of the importance of where your piece fits, because you guys hear from the producers every day.
Yeah.
And so you have just as much face-to-face interaction as anybody. So talk through kind of how do you feel like you're a voice for the farmer as you take those next steps, or as we're working on some of these issues?
Yeah. So honestly, I mean, part of we were kind of just a group that we were involved in our community, from an early point in the business, but it was a much quieter. We'd go to the steer and lamb sale. We'd help support, just various things that were going on in the community. But that 2014 tractor parade was kind of a pivotal moment in a lot of ways, because that's when we really started getting involved beyond just the business. Everybody's heard the saying that if you don't have a seat at the table, you might end up what's for dinner. And I think that we realized it that year, because it was, the backstory is that there was an ag teacher position that had, I was talking about that budget shortfall. I got a call, and I went to my first ever school board meeting, and I had got a call that said that there was going to be more teacher cuts, and one of those cuts was going to be one of our ag teacher positions. We just couldn't believe it, because at least for us, and we thought the entire community, and I believe it really is that we were an ag community, just couldn't believe. And I had spent a lot of time with this particular ag teacher, and just realized the impact that he was making on the lives of young people. And so going and getting involved for that and trying to advocate. I don't know if you knew this story or remember this, but we'd bought just coincidentally, it's funny how God works, because that's the way I see how this all worked out. But there was a tractor. It was literally just within a few days of this tractor parade happening. This is, it was if it was 2 weeks, it was probably less than that. But Mason County FFA had restored this old 1950s John Deere tractor, and we went to the auction to support. The manager of our Mayslick location and myself went to this auction to support. We didn't go to buy a tractor. We went to support.
Heard that
but
before.
You know how an auction works, that if you're the person that raises your hand and nobody else raises it after you,
you got
congratulations, you've got it. And that's what happened. And all I could think is, as I smiled for the pictures, was how am I going to explain to my dad and brothers that I bought this tractor tomorrow morning? So anyway, we ended up with this tractor and didn't have a plan for it. And again, just a couple weeks later, you have this tractor parade trying to advocate for ag education in our community, and trying to advocate for just agriculture in general. And we decided to take this tractor. We started a nonprofit. Had never done anything like that before, but myself and another couple community members started a nonprofit and donated this tractor to the nonprofit. And then we went around the state and sold chances on this tractor just to, a few bucks at a time. I think it was like $5 for a chance, and we did that all year long. But I should tell this was kind of one of those inspirational moments, is that at that school board meeting that I went to, that there was a gentleman from the state there, and it's a long story that I won't get into those details, but the gentleman was leading the meeting, talking about these teacher cuts, and he essentially said that, the way what I was understanding was he was saying that you got a budget shortfall. So for me, I thought it was a simple solution. So you said I stood up, and it was the first time, again, ever at a school board meeting, ever standing up. And I was like, so what you're saying is, if I'm understanding this correctly, this is a financial problem. So that's good, because most financial problems can be solved. And I said, if I've done the math right, it's, this is $3.76 per a Fleming County resident to be able to save this ag teacher position or whatever it was. And he said, something of the nature of, he said, you're right, but he said, the problem is that you guys have you have a Cadillac, basically Cadillac desires and a Ford budget. And I was like, man, that hurts. But anyway, go home the next day at work. I'm a little bit defeated. And this lady that I didn't know, they called me back at the office and say, hey, there's a lady that wants to see you, and I asked who it was, and I didn't recognize the name. And I go out into the showroom, and the lady comes up, and she was probably in her mid-70s, and she shakes my hand, introduces herself, and she hands me, she puts in my hand some loose change, and she says, there's my $3.76. So I was like, oh, wow. So that was a pretty powerful moment. So I was like, I'm going to have to do something here. And so that's how that whole thing started, of trying to, how are we going to raise money? And so we started selling chances on that tractor. And eventually, the cool thing was, the nonprofit that we started, we were able to pay for that ag teacher position for that year and half of the following year. And of course, Fleming County agriculture is still going strong. And that's how that tractor parade ended up turning into us just realizing that we need to add in all these different steps to advocate. So, back to your question, I think that's how we've got so engaged that was our first moment, is coincidentally that we're here to talk about that today, is just getting involved with Ag Education Week and the tractor parade, and just seeing that we've got to speak up, and if we don't do it, who's going to, that you can't just always assume that somebody else is going to. And so we do that on so many issues now. So we just get really involved on and trying to stay ahead of things, trying to be involved. And in some cases, it's not advocating one way or another. It's just informing. It's just, so for example, when you had to go to veterinary, the VFDs, when you had to go to these feed directives, and that was a major change in our industry. And just, so we set up meetings with some of our friends in the industry, and just, trying to be proactive. We do a lot of events where we just try to be proactive. So it's a combination of advocacy and just passing along information and sharing information with folks. And we see that that's a major part of who we are and what we do.
Yeah, I think a lot of things we talk about, and VFD has many layers that we could gripe or lament if we wanted to,
sure.
With all the things and prescription needs for over-the-counter antibiotics for livestock specifically. But I will say there's a lot of things that happen. That one's more of a federal situation, but especially on the state side, there's things that are implemented, and sometimes it's not the implementation it's not the actual thing that's written down in the reg. It's the implementation. And so it's us trying to talk to those that are going to be impacted. Yes, the farmer is impacted, but who's the middleman that's getting that product or has to file that paperwork or change a computer system? And so I know Kyle always does. We always here at Farm Bureau just appreciate when we need to make a phone call, you guys are always willing to answer and say, hey, if this were to go through, what would the time frame be to implement? Or how many of your guys would be so stressed, and how much challenge would this put upon you guys from a delivery perspective? I mean, we can just talk through the real logistics, and I think sometimes that gets forgotten. And so I think it's very important to understand that you guys have that experience, and not just the now, but generations worth of that experience of seeing some of those changes. So I think it's very important. Well,
I think in Kentucky that it didn't take long for me to realize that it's the agriculture network is really a pretty small network, and it doesn't take that much effort. You do have to be deliberate about it, but it doesn't take that much effort to start really building your network. And it's a great agriculture is a great entity to network in because folks are so giving of their time and just the right type of people, genuine type of people. And so we've been able to build on whether it's what my great grandfather did or my grandfather, and my dad, and other folks, but also have just been really deliberate about what I would call it is just trying to make friends. And so the folks at Farm Bureau, folks in our state legislature, the folks at in UK and Extension, all those folks, you get a lot further. I was recently talking about, I told a group of folks that I thought that whether you're talking about business or whether you're talking about your relationship with your spouse or whether you're talking about a relationship with your employees, that there's a handful of really important pieces, but they're pretty simple when you think about it. And a lot of that's built on trust and communication. And so I think that to all these things that you're talking about, that we in agriculture just need to be good communicators and not just, we need to be aware. We need to be good listeners and also good communicators back, because I think we can impact various things, whether it's policy or whether it's the implementation of those policies to be like, oh, hold on now. I think you're a little bit off track here. Here's how this would impact us. And so I think it all comes back to communication, and I'm thankful for Farm Bureau is a major mouthpiece for agriculture in Kentucky and beyond, and I'm really thankful for what you guys do.
So working with brothers and family and everything, talk through that. Do you guys, and we ask farms this all the time, when there's brothers, there's sons, some people, and everybody does it different. Does everybody have their own niche and their own task, or is everybody jack of all trades, master of none? Kind of how do you guys function it over there and make it work with that many family members in one spot?
No, I think that's it. We've each found kind of our little, our lanes that we're more comfortable in, and not that we don't sometimes shift lanes a little bit and we certainly work together. But I mean, to me, that's the biggest blessing about our business is being able to work with family and my brothers are they're my two best friends. So it's really good to get to work with them, get to work with my dad. I mean, what else besides health and healthy family members could you ask for to, then get to have just an amazing work family that you're with. So, but in particular, those folks, I've got an uncle that works on our team. I've got a cousin that works on our team, but we've got 85 folks that are all, this weekend we're getting ready. Tomorrow night we're all getting together for a hayride and carve pumpkins together and a chili cook-off competition amongst our locations. So you spend more time with your home or your work family than you do your home family. So you've got to make your work family really good when we've got that. But it does start with Matt, Nathan, and I. We each have kind of our own things that we do. I'm much more involved in things that have to do with the hiring. I do the hiring and recruiting and retention piece, marketing, and Matt's a lot more in the financial piece and the technology piece. Nathan, like sales and kind of the in-store displays and things. So we've all got our things, and that's worked. We've all just found those things that we gravitate towards, and realize that most people in life, if you're somebody that is a go-getter, you want to have something you kind of have ownership of. And so we all kind of have our things, and we certainly consult one another. There's a lot of pinging on the phone of, group messages about this, that, and the other. And in almost every group that the three of us are in there, that's kind of the common thread is the three of us. So we work great together is the best way to put it. And we still are brothers. We still have things that that they think. I think that most often they think I'm the crazy one. And just to kind of encapsulate that in one story is, I had been working away at a university and doing marketing there. And I wanted to create I love to tell this story. I hope that you guys will enjoy this. But anyway, this was years ago, and we had a logo, but our logo was exactly the same as probably 40 other farm supply stores in a 3-hour radius of here. It was a Holstein cow on a hat that some brilliant person came up with and went store to store back in the the 80s, and they'd be like, "Hey, look, and we can put your name on this. This can say Hinton Mills, and if you want the Navy build hats, you can have the Navy cow, and if you want the green build hats, you've got the green cow." And so that was the difference. It was just instead of Hinton Mills and Hilton Farm Supply hats and 2 different colored cows. And so that was our logo, and Nathan and I, my younger brother and I, we wanted to do something better because we wouldn't even wear our hats. We're like, we got to come up with something cool. We're in our 20s, we need something cool like John Deere or Harley Davidson, something that other folks would wear even if they're not a farm supply person. So we created this logo, and the other important piece to this is everybody in the farm supply business, a lot still do, but definitely in like the 90s and before, you had a giveaway hat. So if Matt came into the store,
boom, hat.
And he'd be like, "Hey,
I think you gave me a hat. I'm pretty sure I got a Hinton Mills hat.
I spent a lot of money with you on my tobacco fertilizer this year. I really think you ought to give me a hat." And he'd be like, "Okay." And so you had this $2 hat that you'd give away, and when we had that. So anyway, when we came up with this logo, not only did we not want it on the $2 hat, we were like, "Man, we're going to embroider it. This is a nice looking hat, this mesh back hat with the, trucker hat." And so anyway,
nobody's doing that.
So, well, we were early on it, but anyway, so we come up with this hat, and I have it on my dad's desk, and it's kind of the big reveal, like we're waiting for him to come in and see this hat, and he's like, "Oh, hey, that's a nice looking hat," and he stares at it for a second. And he's like, "That's not screen print though. That's embroidery." I'm like, yeah. He said, "That's," starts picking it up, looking at it. He's like, "That's not a $2 hat." And I'm like, no, that's more like an $8 hat. He's like, "An $8 hat? We can't give away an $8 hat." And I'm like, "Dad, we're not going to give them away. We're going to sell them for cost plus $1, and we're going to give the $1 to the FFA." And he flails back in his chair and throws his arms up, and his vein is popping on his head. He's like, "Nobody's going to buy a Hinton Mills hat." It's like I had made a terrible mistake buying these 36 hats or whatever. But anyway, we've sold these hats and shirts and, 70-some thousand shirts and hats later. And the only reason I know that is because that's what we've been able to give to FFA through that program. Yeah. Is people buying Hinton Mills hats, and it worked out. But back to your question, that was just an example of them looking at me like, "This kid, are you sure that he was ours, that he didn't get switched in the hospital?" So,
well, and now the shirt is like a big reveal every year. I mean, the shirt, it's a
like
reveal on Facebook.
Stuff. Yeah,
this is a deal. Yeah, I got one. I think I have a Hinton Mills hat. I didn't pay $8. I'll tell you that. I think he maybe just.
Oh my God!
I think we just slipped you one.
I may have got one.
You don't like FFA kids? That's kind of mean.
Apparently, I hate it.
Hey, listen, don't feel guilty, Matt, because anytime we give away a hat, we still give $1 to FFA. So because people will say that a lot of times, people will be like, they're like, "Oh, well, you can't give me that hat because FFA and all." And I'm like, "Well, if you drop off a check at whatever county that you're with, we're gonna put $1 in for you."
Cool. Well, tell us, you have some plans for this year's tractor parade, a little different, and a cool grand marshal coming up this year, right?
We do. So things kick off on Monday. There's stuff in every school, pre-K through, as I mentioned, actually pre-K through 6. You get 2 guaranteed guests in your classroom. It may be an FFA student. It may be somebody from Kentucky Ag and Environment in the classroom. It may be somebody from the local Farm Bureau or the local FSA office. But you get 2 guaranteed things, and that goes on throughout the week. But the big buildup is for this tractor parade. We bus all of our students from all of the elementary schools. Every student in Fleming County schools gets to come. They close down the schools and watch the tractor parade. So it's a major deal. Have about the last 3 years we've been in that 250 to 270 entries. So it's a big, long parade. And the Grand Marshal is a big piece of that. So this year, the Grand Marshal is someone that you guys are well familiar with. It's Mark Haney. And so Mark is the longest serving Kentucky Farm Bureau president, 15 years of service. And so I talked to Mark 2 days ago, and we were talking about kind of the expectations for next week and getting him kind of excited about things. And I was telling him, I said, as you know, that this is not just about you. This is also about Farm Bureau as a whole. And as someone that was very impactful for 15 years on an organization that's immensely impactful in Kentucky, we want to highlight you, but we're also going to highlight a lot of other folks from the local Farm Bureau, some folks that Marshall Coyle is in the neighboring counties, of course, was a Farm Bureau president. He's going to be involved, and there's Drew Graham's going to be there. Mr. Beck's going to be there. That's moved on to the Kentucky venues, but he's coming back and be one of the folks that's going to speak. And so it's really exciting. And we've got this luncheon that we do to that, just like the parade. The luncheon has grown where you have to know somebody to get a seat at the luncheon because there's only 200 seats at the luncheon. And so this is the cool part that nobody knows yet that I'm going to reveal on this show. That's pretty exciting.
Breaking.
And so we have a lunch, and so the lunch is a little different. It was a burger every year, but now we've tried to mix it up a little bit. And this year we're like, what can we do? Is there anything that we could do that would make it a little more Farm Bureau? And we're like, ham breakfast. Farm Bureau is famous for their ham breakfast. So we're having essentially the ham breakfast, even though it's going to be a brunch. It's at 11 o'clock, but very similar menu. It's not going to be as expensive a ham. We're not going to auction off a ham. No $1 million plus hams, but that's the meal. So that's breaking news for you guys.
Very cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's so neat. I just think it's very cool, the opportunity to just hear the growth just today. I mean, you were lucky to have more than just the parents waving at the kids. Yeah. And now you've got almost standing room only. 200 people can fit in a room. You probably got fire code you're pushing just to have people in this for this luncheon, and you're able to talk through things like themes and different things. I just think that shows immense amounts of growth. And again, the spotlight on your county. Yeah, that is so like many others.
So this is that's last year and this year. So those are the magnets. Those magnets, Matt's doesn't have numbers, but yours does. But it has the on that magnet, you can see that it tells that there's a grand marshal, and it tells that there's other things. So we added in a couple years ago. We added in a piece where we do in the main square downtown before the parade starts. There is a prayer and there's a national anthem, and I want to tell you how that started. That was really cool. Is because I do the radio broadcast. There's like 4 different stations that simulcast the parade, which is pretty cool to have. I mean, they'll carry it live. So they carry this parade live.
Macy's Day parading the tractors.
Yeah, myself and Gene McElfresh every year. So Gene's with the local radio station and these other stations. We all work together, which is kind of cool, and simulcast this. But anyway, it is really cool. And so I got in the habit is either before, if you know me very much at all, you know that faith is a really important piece of who I am. And so either before the parade or after the parade, I would pray on the air, and it was just something that I would do, kind of not really planned, just part of how we do things. And so a few years ago, we were like, let's make this, get somebody else involved. And so we had this theme, and our grand marshal was a retired ag teacher. He was 90 years old. L.C. Skaggs, retired Fleming County High School ag teacher. And we were thinking of through as we were thinking about him and talking through some things, we're like, man, but wouldn't it be cool if we get some other folks from the greatest generation involved? So we asked, there's a lady named Minnie Doyle, who's a business leader in our community. We asked her to be involved, and she sang the national anthem. And there was a guy named Marvin Suit, who was a local attorney, very instrumental in our community. He's also in that 90-year age group. And he did the prayer before the parade. And so we did that in our main square, and we're like, we can't go back. We've got to do this every year. And so now we have that piece. So the pieces this year that are involved in that are all Farm Bureau related folks. So we've got my old Kentucky home. We're adding that this year because there's a really talented trumpet player named Randall Wood, who's been involved with the Fleming County Farm Bureau and involved Kentucky Farm Bureau. He's going to play my old Kentucky home. And then Wayne Grannis is our local agency manager. He's a really talented vocalist. He's going to sing the national anthem. And then Daryl Grannis is one of our local longtime board members, and he's going to do the prayer. And then we're going to honor Mark, and Mark's going to jump on the radio with us, and the parade starts, and it's a cool deal.
Very cool. Very cool.
That is incredible.
Yeah, so we'll be there. The video gang will be there. We'll be actually making this. We've been doing a new segment in our new show, the KFB show, called the 120, and it's a highlight of we're trying to slowly over the next. We're going to do this thing for 40 years. It'll have to take that long to get to all 120 counties, but we're trying to promote what counties are doing and neat events in counties that really highlight agriculture, highlight Farm Bureau, highlight just their community, their rural events or whatever's going on. So, yeah, it'll be a part of that, and we're really excited to come out, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And yeah, I don't know if we quite know what we're getting ourselves into, but that's almost every time we go shoot something, we don't really quite know what we're getting into.
No, you don't. Is the best way to put it. But we'll come at it. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we'll come at it and do our best. But we're looking forward to being there, and I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. I knew about it, but I appreciate you bringing it back up, and it's a perfect thing for what we're trying to work on. So, really excited for this. And again, this you talk about rural life, rural flair, agriculture, about everything you can want, and of course a little bit of Farm Bureau mixed in. This is a perfect event. So I hope folks that in that area are coming. That sounds like everyone is. So
if not, you can listen to it.
Apparently, you can listen to it, which is quite cool.
Yeah, listen.
So yeah, we're looking forward to being there.
Well, it's going to be fun, and I'll tell you the thing about the tractor parade, and you'll see this when you're there, and I hope that you guys will be able to capture this, is that whether you're 6 or you're 96, that there's something really special about when you see this massive parade of tractors coming through this downtown area with this really beautiful backdrop. That it's just really cool, and I love to see the pictures after the community does such a good job, and that's one of the cool things that all these folks will post all their pictures on Facebook. But just seeing the faces, I kind of ignore the tractors sometimes, and because I see tractors all the time, but I ignore the tractors and just look at the faces. And like I said, whether it's somebody that's that their farming days are probably over, or somebody that's just thinking about that might be part of their future, is really, really cool to see their faces and kind of daydreaming during the parade.
So the radio is, how can people follow, or is there, what's a plug? Where can people see what's going on? Specifically the tractor thing, I think that's more right way out in the open. But talk about different ways people can follow some of these events you are having.
So you can, Facebook's a great way to follow. You can follow on Hinton Mills on our Facebook page. Just look up Hinton Mills on Facebook, or a Better Community Foundation. Better Community is the nonprofit that we'd started to house that tractor and start trying to save that ag teacher position. So you can go to either one of those Facebook pages. You can follow on multiple local radio stations. The Flemingsburg station, WFLE, is one of those stations. WKCA, which is over in Bath County, is another one of the stations. WCYN in Harrison County. You can go to their pages and follow or listen to their stations live. WMST in Mount Sterling. So social media is probably the best way to do that. But the real answer to that is, you know what the real answer is? You just got to come to the parade. Put it on your calendars. First Friday in October. This year it's October the 3rd. Next year it'll be October the 2nd. You just won't regret. If you've got kids, grandkids, grandparents, take the day off and bring them over to the tractor parade. I promise you won't regret the experience that you have. You got to do it once.
Excellent.
All right, Adam, I'm going to ask you one question, and if I'm wrong, we'll just cut it out of the podcast. Were you possibly a member of a PAL class through AFBF in the past? Okay, we're talking all things Farm Bureau, and I know we're about to wrap this thing up, but I don't think that's ever a program we've talked about on the podcast. Yeah. So I just wanted to see if you had a quick maybe plug if you enjoyed it, if it was neat, what kind of it was, so we could let people know, because I think we don't have a person on one of those classes on here very often. It's very kind of prestigious to get in. Yeah, so the PAL program, Partners in Agriculture Leadership, through AFBF, it was I got to be a part of that. I don't know what the prerequisites are now, but at the time the prerequisite was you had to be within a certain age range, and you also had to have either been a top 10 finalist in one of AFBF's national contest, or it's served, in a leadership role in American Farm Bureau, is what it amounted to. And so
So it was really a really awesome experience. It was kind of intense because I had two other things going on. I don't like that we've got a saying about cramming 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. But my daughter was, we were pregnant with my daughter and my daughter Addie. And also I was doing the Kentucky Ag Leadership Program at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
So man, it was a really intense time period, but I made such amazing friendships through that program. There's 10 of us from across the country. We're still all friends today. We still got, a text group that we talk often. It's always really, really cool to see those folks. They're all on the Christmas card list, and same with the folks that helped run the program. But we went, I was surprised how much, I will say this, if you're a slow reader like me, there's a lot of work that goes into it, but it's worth it. The sessions that we had, we were in New York City, we were in Washington, D.C., we were in St. Louis, we were in Brazil. We did some just really cool travel together, but it's that whole piece of what AFBF and Kentucky Farm Bureau does so well. It's just trying to be advocates for agriculture and just trying to prepare people to be able to do things like this when they get a microphone in front of them or they've got an opportunity to talk to listening ears, to be able to communicate what's going on either in their specific world or in agriculture to folks that might not know. But it's a great program.
Awesome. Well, I know we were rounding out and had our links and everything, and I was like, oh, I got to get this in because it is it's tough to get into because it's just a small pool of people. And so when I get someone on that, I just wanted to make sure we gave it a plug.
Let me tell you this. So out of our class, just for example, and it was really neat to see. So this morning, just on Facebook, I was Jason Bunting is in the state legislature in Illinois. He was not at that time, but he is. Shannon Douglas is she's one of the. She might be vice president of. I think she's vice president of California Farm Bureau now. So she's in in the position that Eddie Melton was formerly in here, if I'm not mistaken. And then Joy Davis is involved in the state legislature. She's not a legislator, but she's involved in works in one of the offices there. And then Brandon Witt is super engaged in Tennessee, doing so many things. Agritourism. I mean, there's just so many folks where could go through each person. I hate not to now, but they're just all so involved. And each one of us, how it is when you get in a group that you can become really motivated by what the others are doing and inspired. And so if you've got folks that are listening that have an opportunity to be a part of the POW program, it's one of those things you really need to try to carve out time to do that because it's whether it's the POW program or whether it's the Kentucky Ag Leadership Program or the LEAD program or whatever programs that are out there, and find the one that fits your work home life balance or the two in some cases. Education doesn't stop when you get out of high school. It doesn't stop when you get out of college. That there's great opportunities to continue to educate yourself, continue to prepare yourself, continue to push yourself. And the POW program is certainly one of those opportunities.
Awesome. Well, thanks. I know it went off the cuff, but I really do appreciate it. I appreciate you driving in. This is obviously a busy week before the big week, so we are just thankful. I mean, not even knowing we were going to have truck issues on the way here and spilling water. I mean, we got through it all today to get you here, so thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. Thanks for continuing to, to advocate for all of us involved in agriculture. But a really special thank you and your interest in what's going on with with Fleming County Agriculture Education Week and the Fleming County FFA Tractor Parade. I want to tell one more thing about that. One of our middle school principals, who's been she's been super supportive of this Ag Education Week for years now. She sent me something and she was like, look at these pictures. These are some of my peers in other school systems that they've got Ag Weeks too. And I was like, well, they do. I was like, Kentucky now has an all-in for agriculture week. It actually just took place a week or two ago, and they've designed that. And I think that a part of their inspiration was Fleming County It's Agriculture Education Week and other programs that are going like that around the state. So for me, it's never just been about Fleming County. It's always been about, just like the POW program is, it gives you a roadmap. It's an encouragement. It's something to push you. Fleming County Agriculture Education Week and the Tractor Parade's always been about trying to encourage other communities and give them ideas and hopefully make their paths a little easier to get where we've gotten with that. And I hope that that folks through Kentucky Farm Bureau will be able to witness what we're doing, see what we're doing if they can't make it themselves, and hopefully be able to replicate what we're doing and make a similar impact in their communities.
Yep.
Perfect. Let's make a community of encouragers and excited people for these educators, just like we have in agriculture, and we'll have them teaching about ag. So that's fantastic. All right. Well, we will wrap this thing up and let you get back to it. But thank you so much. And thank you, listeners. Be sure to subscribe and listen to some other episodes. And we'll see you next time on Let's Get Rural.